Good evening from New York. I'm Lawrence O'Donnell in for Keith Olbermann. The House of Representatives prepares to debate and vote on Speaker Pelosi's health care reform bill, including the creation of a government-run health insurance plan that would, through marketplace competition, pressure private insurance companies to offer lower premiums and finally make health care affordable for all Americans. Except, in our number 5 story on the countdown tonight, the Congressional Budget Office finds that it would leave 18 million people uninsured, and the government-run health insurance plan will probably charge consumers premiums that are, quote, somewhat higher than average premiums for the private plans, end quote. This is a devastating conclusion for a plan being sold not just as a low-cost option for consumers, especially poor consumers, but as somehow driving private insurance premiums lower. First, the politics. Republican Congresswoman Michelle Bachmann responded to the House bill today. The full-screen graphic you will see with the question about Joe Lieberman and the word surprised misspelled is courtesy of the interviewers, not the Countdown staff. The Michael Jackson reference is all Bachmann.
This is socialization of America if this bill goes through. And after next Friday, it'll be too late to talk to your member of Congress. So now is the time. You know I'm not, because Joe Lieberman and Ben Nelson are hearing from people back home, real people. And that's what we're going to show the rest of these members of Congress next week. When people, normal American people who love this country, get in their cars and actually come here next week, because the American people realize this is it. Just like that brand new Michael Jackson movie that came out, this is it. This is it for freedom.
Regarding Bachmann's objection to, quote, the socialization of America, note to Bachmann staff, dictionary.com. But if it sounds as if Bachmann is angling for an endorsement from Lieberman, good news. Lieberman, hands still bloody from vowing to block Democrats from an up or down vote on health care, went even further today, telling ABC News, quote, I probably will support some Republican candidates for Congress next year. This despite or because of Democratic Senator Tom Harkin reminding him via the Iowa Independent yesterday that Lieberman enjoys the chairmanship of the Homeland Security Committee thanks to, quote, the indulgence of the Democratic caucus. Even if Harkin is right, however, there still remains the question of how many progressive members of Congress will support this bill, especially given that Speaker Pelosi now says she will have to be talked into letting anyone offer amendments to strengthen the public option. Is the Speaker not even slightly worried about how many liberals will balk at signing on, echoing complaints voiced yesterday by Congressman Dennis Kucinich?
Is this the best we can do? Only 3% of Americans will go to a new public plan, while currently 33% of Americans are either uninsured or underinsured. Is this the best we can do?
With us tonight, New York Democratic Congressman Anthony Weiner, himself an advocate of single-payer health care. Thanks very much for your time tonight, Congressman.
Pleasure, Lawrence. Thanks.
To Dennis Kucinich's challenge on the House floor. Is this the best we can do?
Well, you know, the trouble is we have large numbers of people who call themselves fiscal hawks, fiscal conservatives, who have been lobbying, efforting, and making every step they can to try to weaken the public option and to try to make sure we have less choice, less competition. Look, it's a good bill, but it's definitely not as good as it could be. You know, we kind of have this situation where Nancy Pelosi and Reid, they're kind of like the Tracy and Hepburn of the public option. They're eventually, we hope, going to get to a good place, but they're running into all kinds of obstacles from their own party. And it really is a shame, because I'm not quite sure what these so-called fiscal conservatives think they're getting. They're getting a more expensive bill that does less.
Now, you looked at this problem of health care in America for a long time, thought about it a long time, and you came out with the notion that the best way to solve this, Senator Moynihan before you concluded this, Senator Kennedy concluded this, is open up Medicare for all. Just make it available. It works. It is popular. People understand it. You don't have to explain to them what it is. You do have to find a way to finance it. But they know what you'd be talking about. And now you're put in a position as defending as a good bill, something that, as Dennis Kucinich says, it fails in so many ways.
Well, you know, first of all, Nancy Pelosi has given me a commitment. I'm going to get a chance to offer single payer on the floor. I'm reading all kinds of places that maybe it's like a lot of things in Washington. It's very temporary.
That was my next question. Thank you very much.
But let me just say this. You know, one of the problems we've had in this debate is it's been overly complicated. We know that people get Medicare when they're 65. We know that 96% of them, when surveyed, say they like it. What's magical about 65? Why not 55 or 45? Or why not those young people when they come home from college, they go on? They'd actually be a boon to the system because they wouldn't be drawing down a lot from it. And everyone would understand it. We wouldn't have all this argument about people trying to pull the plug on Granny. And yet we've gone away from that to having a sliver of competition because we want to hold the health insurance companies harmless. We can't do it. If we hold the health insurance companies harmless, we're doing something wrong. If they're not squealing like a pig, we haven't done this bill right.
And the public option, which has been the center of political pressure all year, it turns out will serve no more than 2% of the people, and according to CBO, end up charging premiums that are higher than private insurance companies will charge.
Listen, let me explain in simple terms what this has been about. If you offer someone a choice that's much less expensive, they're going to choose it. That's what the health insurance companies are afraid of. So they've been doing everything possible with their advocates in Washington to say, oh, no, we don't want it to actually be expensive. Now, I understand shareholders may want health insurance companies to benefit. Why are we, the members of Congress, advocating so fiercely for protecting health insurance companies?
What has the insurance company, what have they gotten in the public option that makes it such a faulty version of it now that it would end up with premiums higher than private insurance companies? How did they rig that one?
Here's what wound up happening. We had this debate between the rigorous public option and competitive. What it really comes down to is whether or not you're going to link the rates to something, whether you're going to tether it to Medicare plus something so it can't rise too much. Once we say we're not going to do that, it's basically like any other insurance company. The the labor HHS is going to go out and negotiate a rate that might be just as high as the insurance companies. Now, I don't think it's going to get that bad, and I believe that the administration is going to want it to be a success, and even a sliver of competition is better than none. But someone should ask the question, not just of progressives, are you going to vote for this thing? Someone should ask these so-called conservatives and moderates like Joe Lieberman, why won't you even, who are you advocating for? Who is it that when you say you won't even let us have a vote on the floor of the Senate, who are you pitching for? You know, I have this website, countdowntohealthcare.com. That's what everyone is writing me and asking on that website today.
Anthony Weiner, thank you very much for joining us tonight.